Hey everyone, welcome back to Patriot Ridge Farm. It's Mike here, and so this is second week the birds have been out here on the pasture. We ordered 75, ended up getting 77, and I brooded them for about 3 weeks. The last week, 2 weeks inside, then I did a whole week outside, 3 days with heat, and then I turned the heat off and let them stay outside in the brooders, and they did absolutely fine. So I knew at that point it was time to bring them out here. So again, we ordered 75, we got 77. We had 0 losses the first 4 weeks, 0, which is completely out of the ordinary, because typically when we order these birds and we get a batch of like 75, we lose anywhere from 5 to 8 to 10 birds in the first week and a half for various reasons. And at 4 weeks, we had not lost any of them until the other morning when we got our first frost. I lost 2 out of the middle tractor. Don't know why, because they're covered, they're bunched up there, but for whatever reason, 2 of them we lost out of that middle tractor. And then last night, as I was moving the tractors in the middle of the rain, one of them got underneath the tractor as I lifted it up to move it. When I set it down, I didn't realize he was under it, and he got squished. So we've had 3 losses. Nothing apparently to do with health problems, unless you want to count being exposed to frost as a health problem. But like I said, that was just an oddity right there anyways. So the only thing we did different this time with this batch we ordered is I didn't get this group vaccinated. And I almost, with every batch, I get them vaccinated for coccidiosis and Marek's disease. But I didn't do that this time. I'm not trying to make some kind of grand revelation here or anything like that, or some kind of fantastic statement, but we didn't get them vaccinated, and no losses up to 4 weeks. And like I said, we'll attribute the first 2 to frost and the third one to getting under the tractor as I was moving it and setting it down. So I don't know, is there something to it? You guys tell me what you think about that. Secondly, I got a new feed supplier. A friend of mine introduced me to a fairly local new mill, and it's a family-owned mill. And when I called and talked to the guy, he's got the option to use distillers grains as a main source, and or soy. Now soy of course makes it a little bit more expensive, but he's pretty much got an unlimited supply of of distillers grains. And he can, well, the meat bird, he doesn't have meat bird, but he can make it for me. But the layer pellets, or the layer feed that he has, is 17% protein, and I just got a bunch of it. I just got 600 pounds of it. And then I went ahead and got the 16% protein pig feed that he has, that is distillers grains. And it's got the lysine and all the other minerals and stuff in it. And he told me, he said, try a little bit of it first. He said, see if your pigs take to it. He's got about a 60% success rate. 40% the pigs usually won't eat it, but the pig gets hungry enough, they're going to eat it. So I bought 600 pounds of pig feed, 600 pounds of layer feed, and brought it home. No issues whatsoever. The pigs took right to it. So it's at $10 a bag, a 50-pound bag, versus, and that's of course for the pig feed. The meat bird feed, he said he can make me with distillers grains and get the 18 to 20% protein content that I want for probably about $12 a bag. And I'm already paying, the Kalmbach feed went up to $18 a bag now, and it's a 20% feed. And I never paid attention, I never paid too much attention to it, but it actually has bacitracin in the ingredients, which is an antibiotic type of thing. And I didn't realize that was in there, because I just basically went off the protein content and knowing that it was a good quality company, but I didn't realize that. So as they finish out the last few bags of this, they will go to distillers grains at 18 to 20%, whatever we can get out of it, and we'll finish them on that. So this is the latest in the year that we've ever ran meat birds. Usually we're done by the first week of September, and we're finished for the year. These guys we're running up until about the first week of November, and then we'll process them. Going to shoot for a 4.5 to 5 pound carcass weight on these guys. That's why I feed them once a day. I move them to fresh grass once a day. I don't give them free feed around the clock, typically 12 on 12 off. And because a couple batches that we've done, we've averaged about 5.5 pound carcasses. And while we've had no complaints about the birds themselves, people say, that's a lot of it's a big meal for me, or, it's a lot of bird for, just 3 of us, or however it is. And even though we're doing specialty cuts, knocking it down a pound's really not going to, we're not going to lose much on it. and it does become a smaller carcass that's more usable, I guess, for most people and stuff. So we typically get in the store, I think you're looking at about a 3.5, maybe 4 pound bird at max, is pretty much what I've seen in the stores. So we're going to shoot for about 4.5, 5 pounds on these guys. So we'll go right to the 8-week weekend and whack these guys, weather permitting, of course. So a little smaller carcass, a little happier, a few happier customers, and we'll see how it turns out from that. All right, and we were going to put these guys in a meadow that we had not raised chickens in yet, but it's almost a mile from the house. And with this time of year, and like we had rain the last couple days, and the mud and everything, I'd have to transport these chicken tractors a mile down through the woods. I'd have to transport the netting, the birds, all of it. And I just figured, you know what? It's been over 4 months since any birds were on this pasture, this stretch of the pasture. So we're just going to run them right out through here. And this is where we did our first run at the beginning of the year, beginning of the season. So there's been over 4 months of sunshine exposure, rain, hay cut off of it. I come back in and mowed it again. So I'm not worried about them picking anything up off this. So there's still plenty of good grass here, and there's no remnants of what I see on the ground here of any manure from the first run we did this season. I love this time of year in West Virginia. Fall callers are starting to really pop. It's not hot anymore. Weather's very unpredictable at this time of year, but man, this is my favorite time of the year here. And the piglets are surely tearing it up, buddy. They're doing their job in here. This is a black walnut here, so they're in here rooting and tearing everything up and getting after the walnuts nuts and stuff. So I've seen them pretty much all over this entire 3-acre paddock here. So they're definitely learning their little area and taking full advantage of it. I'm going to have to try to get them a little bit more of a more substantial shelter before the snow flies. They've got a lot of good dense brush and stuff in there, and being the old spot, the old spot crosses that they are, they're pretty resilient pigs, pretty hardy, but that doesn't mean I'm going to let them go without shelter. So I'm going to have to come up with something to get in there and throw a bunch of hay and stuff in. That way they can get out of the weather as they need to. The coldest it's getting right now in the middle of the night or in the early mornings is like just in the mid 40s, low 40s. So like I said, we've had that one frost, and that was just a kind of a freak, snuck up on everybody type of thing. We got a notice at like 5 o'clock in the morning that by 9 a.m. there could be a frost, and lo and behold, by 7:30 there was a frost. So, but they do all right. There's still plenty of vegetation cover in there for them. They can get in these big canopies and stuff of this underbrush and not have any issues at all. But that doesn't mean that I won't get a more substantial shelter built in there for them. I'm just using one of the old farrowing huts. So high degree of confidence that her mating took this time, and she should farrow probably within 2 weeks. Now I'll have to take this section of the fence out right here, the panel, and block that off and get her moved over here into the farrowing pen, and that way she can farrow out in there, and we have a controlled area where we can watch her for that. But she's about the size of a daggone house at this point. I'm not picking on you. It's true. You're a big old pig. You're a big old pig. And she's starting to, her mams or teats and stuff are starting to be a little bit more prominent. She doesn't have milk sacs or anything yet, but her teats are a lot more prominent, and she's definitely thick. So yeah, we're pretty confident she's pregnant this time. So all right, so clearly the garden's done for the year. Squash plant patch is done for the year. Being it's fall, we've pretty much harvested everything we can and that we're going to be able to use out of the garden this year. So the rest of it that's there has already been exposed to frost, so it's a little wilty and we just won't be able to use it at this point. Still got a bunch of squash and stuff in here that we'll feed to the chickens and the pigs and everything, and that way it doesn't go to waste, and the whole intent for growing it was, of course, for them. All right, so we finally got all the dirt moved here for where the high tunnel is going to go. Come back down here and shot grade again. We're within an inch of grade pretty much all the way around, and I think I'm about within 2 inches of square with just setting those temporary pins. So, and of course then it rained on us, so we're waiting for this to dry up again, and we're going to square it up, and then we'll pop our 4 corners in, concrete them in, and then we can start driving the other posts in and start getting this thing built. And like I said, I hope, my goal is once this thing is squared up, we get the pins in, the corners in and start doing everything is to get it up before snow flies. And that way it's here. I can throw the chickens and the rabbits in here and they can have a nice warm spot for the winter while getting on this nasty old West Virginia clay and getting some good fertilization to it. But I actually took and all the dirt that we had to take out of here to get it to grade, I just rolled it right over here. Didn't add it, make it any more steep. I just kind of extended the footprint here, and we'll actually have room to put some raised beds along through here, so we can go from the back right there and just line raised beds up through here to even expand our growing a little bit more. And that won't block sun or anything like that, but allows us to grow more stuff outside and you know, still have the ability to grow in the greenhouse and everything, and put stuff that we typically wouldn't grow inside out here, and to continue to make use of our raised beds. Kind of a bad time of year to be doing stuff like this because the grass isn't going to grow back this late in the year, so it's probably going to be a pretty good mess before we're all done with everything. But you know, it'll come back in the spring. It's no big deal. All right, so I've literally attempted to get this video done probably 6, 7, 8 times in the last week or so, and every time I try to do it, I screw up somewhere along the way. And you know, I've done it like 6 times with me moving the chicken tractors and starting the video off of that. Piss on it. I can't keep up with it. You're going to get what you're going to get, whether you like it or not. But you know, that's your option, your choice there. But anyways, this is where we're at. It's nonstop pretty much at this point. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm trying to pick and choose my my last final projects for the year. This greenhouse here being the biggest, and getting this done. And making sure my pigs have shelter and everything. So it's going to be some time between videos. If you live the lifestyle, you'll understand. If you live the lifestyle and have a full-time job, you'll definitely understand what I'm talking about. So, you know, we're fighting the weather at this time of year. We're going to be fighting the sun even more so when the time change comes. So you guys, if you don't understand, yeah, that's just how it's going to be, unfortunately. But, you know, as I always say, and not to make it a catchphrase, but get and stay prepared, stay free. God bless y'all.